Hello, and welcome to Devlog 2 of Magical Doggy Doors. This is my channel, Dev Designs. Today, I am setting up a new project in Visual Studios using C++ and getting a functioning window using SDL2. SDL2 is not automatically set up when a new project is started. There are a few functions that need to be added to the code as well as some files that need to be added to the project folder. Although I am using SDL2, I will often leave the 2 off the end of it, referring to it just as SDL. SDL allows me to add in pictures and sound, as well as control the view window. When I am adding in the files and dependencies for SDL, I add in a few extras that I will not be using right away, but will need in the future. One of them is SDL image. This will allow me to add in pictures to my program. For the most part, I use only PNGs. However, there is SDL code that allows the programmer so much more freedom. I just have not expanded to this part of SDL. For now, PNGs work for me. Maybe in the future I will look into it further. The other extra is SDL Mixer. This is for adding in music and sound effects. Just like image, I do not know much about this part of SDL. I have learned to use these features as I go and have not expanded much beyond that. For the SDL code that I am using, I learned it from several different tutorials. When I first wrote it, I didn't understand any of it, but as I continue to use it, I am starting to understand it more and more. I took the code that I was learning from and have adapted it over time. It hasn't changed much, but it suits my needs. What has been helping the most is I do not copy and paste the code into my new projects, nor do I import the files and move on. I open my new class file and I type the code out, line by line. The best way for me to learn some of this, the same as it is for many people, is by repeatedly doing it. The code included in this class will open and initiate the use of SDL. It will create a window so information can be sent to the computer for the window. There will be a renderer that will render the information to the screen. The window will get a name and a position on the screen. There will be a function and variables that will get how long each frame of the game is, and it will continually adjust those frames to keep the game running at a fairly steady pace. Without this function and variables, the frames per second will vary from computer to computer. Slower computers will process the game at a much slower rate, while on faster computers, the game can run crazy fast. Controlling the frame rate will help with keeping the gameplay the same for all players. Although this is not a multiplayer game, the idea of keeping a steady frame rate would be even more important in multiplayer games. You would not want to play a game with another person if the game ran at different speeds on the two computers. A final and vital function is added to the SDL class. It is SDL Clean. This code will destroy the window and renderer, as well as shut down SDL. Without it, when the program ends, things can be left behind on a computer and cause problems. By cleaning up after the SDL code, I am removing the possibilities of this stray information slipping through the cracks. Once all of the SDL code has successfully been added, I can then use it in main.cpp. I add a call to the SDL class, and then start adding my information. I have a while loop in the main function that will keep running until the game is done. Each run through the while loop is a frame. I call a function at the beginning of each iteration to get the time off the computer when the iteration started. I then go through all the code for the frame. For the time being, the only information here will be updating a counter so we are not stuck in an infinite loop and we can keep the window open for a few seconds. At the end of the iteration, I call to another function to get the end time of the iteration. Finally, I run the function to see if the frame was long enough. If it was not, the SDL will pause the program for milliseconds to get the frame caught up. I do a debug check once my code is written and find that I have a few bugs in my code. The bugs keep the program from running. I scroll to the top of the errors and double-click it. This takes me to a piece of code that I have typed the class name incorrectly. I fix the error and run debug again. This time the code runs successfully. When I run the program, a console window shows up, followed by a larger window with a white background. The larger window does not stay open for long. I do not have it set up to stay. but I was able to see it, and I know I am ready to move on to the next section of code. The next section of code will be the class gameplay and game pictures. Gameplay will allow us to add in code that keeps the window open longer and will eventually hold the core code for the game. Game picture will allow us to add in pictures to be rendered to the screen. With these two functions, we will start to see more than just the code in an empty window. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.